Well, oftentimes murder investigations are shrouded in secrecy, and for good reason. Police need to be able to question witnesses and examine evidence without the man or woman they're hunting down catching on. That's why a behind-the-scenes look like the one our Henry Rossoff got is so rare. He joins us now to take you inside the Milwaukee Police Homicide Unit. Henry.
Milwaukee police in a good year will handle about 70 murder cases. A bad year, dozens more. Resolving those situations usually requires constantly confronting questionable characters, gazing at gut-wrenching evidence, and doing so under the high pressure of the public, the press, and the prosecutor's office. This is a rare, in-depth look at what it takes to be inside the Milwaukee Police Homicide Unit.
Some scenes are very graphic.
This is what you normally see.
Senseless killings.
The bullet-ridden body already gone.
You have to have a pretty thick skin.
But the sealed street and heavy police presence are the telltale signs.
These cases don't solve themselves as quickly as portrayed on TV.
And just as day turns to dusk, Timothy Graham,
I'm a detective with the Milwaukee Police,
will work to shed light on what happened here at 6th and Orchard on Milwaukee's South Side.
It started out as a shooting scene that ultimately ended in a homicide.
But once witnesses are questioned,
You see who said this and who said that.
the family is informed.
It's a tough task to have to go and talk to the family.
And every bit of evidence is carefully collected. Very few people see what comes next.
The house was struck here. As you can see, the hole in there.
Graham shows us what he and other detectives of the Milwaukee Police Department's Homicide Unit spent hours analyzing.
It tells me that the shooter was standing down the block here shooting in the easterly direction.
Then we walk back to Graham's car while he explains to us.
This is a relatively contained scene. My last scene that I did was on the up on the freeway where the shooting happened on 7th and Atkinson, and the vehicle crashed into the median wall. Shots would escaped from the scene and headed into the PAB.
Graham takes us back to the main police station downtown.
Been on the job for 17 years.
His partner, Detective Dennis DeValcanier, rides in the front passenger seat.
We'll compare notes and see what witnesses said what and who saw what. Try to formulate a motive for this.
Inside, evidence in hand, Graham and the rest of the second shift detectives settle into their offices. This is not like you see on TV, with 1 or 2 superstar detectives working a case. About 8 detectives on this night will begin to figure out who killed 21-year-old Luis Perez, who police think might be tied to a gang.
Everyone in the unit works on all the cases, and we share information with each other.
The team believes Perez may have been gunned down by a rival gang following a dispute with an ex-girlfriend. And DeValcanier works with a uniformed officer in the gang unit to put together a photo array.
To show one of the eyewitnesses.
They at first think the evidence points to one man, but must be fair in the way they prepare the pictures.
The computer automatically brings up 500 people that have similar characteristics of the target of the array, and then I go in and pick individuals that best look like our suspect.
DeValcanier takes the eyewitness into a room to show him the finished photo array. We're concealing the identity of that witness for his safety.
The person who committed the crime may or may not be included in the photos.
Unfortunately, he doesn't identify the shooter. The detectives must press on.
We never stop investigating a case.
Graham, DeValcanier, and the rest eventually pass the baton to the unit's third shift.
He says, "I'll call you back."
Briefing those detectives on every aspect of the murder.
The smallest little detail could make or break a case when it comes to homicide, and you have to be really cognizant of that.
8 hours later, third shift then briefs first shift.
You want to get the case solved for the victim.
And soon enough, it's back to the guys who were originally on the scene.
We never stop working on a case.
So round and round it goes, but Lieutenant Nicole Davila explains how the unit also balances active unsolved homicides.
Every day you're reviewing them, either the reports or the follow-up that needs to be done, or something else is developed and you're talking about them, so they're always in your mind.
And because crime doesn't sleep, neither can the police.
The harsh reality of people actually killing people in the streets.
And now we're back to the part the public does see. In a courtroom, days, weeks, sometimes years after the crime scene hits your local news. In the Perez murder, detectives zeroed in on Julian Rosario.
Eventually, we'll get to the bottom of it.
Rosario's charged with first-degree intentional homicide. According to the detectives, he was in a car with the victim's ex-girlfriend. They'd gone to pick up her stuff at Perez's home. When Perez came back, he pulled out a small silver handgun that didn't fire. Rosario allegedly hopped out of his car and began shooting. It took days of digging by detectives to crack this case, plus
It's still a long way from over.
Lieutenant Thomas Stigler explains how detectives will follow up as Rosario, or anyone else for that matter, makes their way through the legal system.
Can't tell you how many of these detectives have had vacations where they've had to fly back from, sorry family, I got to leave Disney World for 2 days. Dad's got to fly back and testify in a homicide trial.
So hopefully the next time you see this scene, you'll have a greater appreciation for the work of the detectives solving Milwaukee's murders.
We really put a lot of stress on ourselves to try and figure out who did it and bring them before a prosecutor.
Something that didn't really fit with the homicide we were with the unit for is dealing with the murder of children. Repeatedly, when we asked the detectives about the hardest cases for them personally, they didn't hesitate. They said those involving kids were very, very difficult for them.
Especially if they have kids, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and many of them do.
And many of them do, I bet.
Very
Wow.
interesting. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you so much.
Well, it was the slam heard round the city.
When the alderman pounded the podium.